Chapter 12. Tracy started to panic. Notary was right in front of her. What could she do? Luckily, Notary hadn't noticed that she was awake yet. Calm down, calm yourself, Trixie. She needed to think. She wondered if she could take Notary. She didn't know what kind of training Greengrass' assistant had. Tracy decided to cast illusion on herself to see what Notary's capabilities, and mentally smacked herself for forgetting she couldn't do that without her horn. Notary's presence made Tracy's blood go cold. She heard Notary pull something out of her coat pocket. It's morphin time. Oh, pony feathers. Tracy jumped out of the bed and leaped to the other side, distancing herself from the Yellow Ranger, backed up against the dresser. Ha! Here to capture me, huh? Tracy taunted. I'd like to see you try. No response from Notary. Her body language remained neutral and stood still like a statue. Tracy was surprised at how menacing Notary's strange robe-like armor and his white tiara with a flower-shaped jewel was. What the hey is she? A golem? Tracy slowly moved around the bed, towards the door, never once letting her eyes leave Notary. Notary, in response, slowly moved her head as Tracy moved. Notary pressed a button on her morpher, and a giant, round, yellow-bladed weapon appeared in her hose. It was almost half the size of her body. It was a chakra, Tracy believed. She pointed the blade directly at Trixie's head. Tracy gulped and froze in her tracks. So, you want me to give up right now, give myself over to you? Tracy asked nervously. That chakram looked very sharp, and Trixie gulped. Notary said nothing and continued to stare. If I don't, you'll cut my head off? Tracy stared. Still no response from Notary. Tracy really started to panic now. She could jump out the window of a 2-story building. Her best bet was to stall until Twilight came to her rescue. As if reading her thoughts, Notary slowly started towards Trixie, looked ready to fight. I suppose you want your answer now, right? Trixie said desperately. Why couldn't she get a target of one that loved to gloat and monologue? Notary didn't stop. It was only a few hooves away now. From her body language, it looked like she was ready to strike. Tracy took a bow position. At a blinding speed, Notary rushed in and swung at Trixie's head. Tracy saw a few hairs drop to the floor as he ducked out of the way. She saw a pumpkin nearby, threw it at Notary as he ran towards it. Notary just effortlessly cleaved it in two and didn't even pause her approach. Tracy used a slight distraction to get even further away. She scanned the room for anything that might be able to help her. Not much, really. Some dressers, some pumpkins with dresses, and a vanity with some makeup on it. Tracy had an idea in an instant. With everything she had, she rushed towards the vanity. Tracy used a screen that was almost cut in two when Notary threw her chakra at Trixie's torso. Tracy twisted her body in time and barely avoided it. The weapon sliced through the wall effortlessly. Trixie sighed in relief. Ha! That was stupid of you, she mocked. Notary pushed a button on her morpher, and her chakra appeared back at her hooves. You've got to be kidding me, Trixie said in disbelief. She screamed again when Notary let it loose again. She rolled out of the way, went through the window this time, and shards of glass fell to the floor. Notary closed the distance between the two of them, and moved in for a left jab at Trixie's ribs. Trixie deftly dodged it, and did her best to avoid the next flurry of blows. She saw an opening and delivered a punch of her own to Notary's head. Trixie winced in pain when her hoof collided with the Yellow Ranger's helmet. Trixie jumped out of the way in time when Notary swung her right hoof at Trixie's jaw. Trixie moved back to get some distance from her opponent after dodging another punch. Trixie started huffing in exhaustion. She knew she couldn't keep this up. Notary's speed was impossible, and she didn't dare try to block any attacks out of fear to raise her strength. Trixie saw she was close to the vanity and ran towards it. Notary followed behind and summoned her weapon back at her hooves. Notary swung her chakra at Trixie's head. She ducked and kept going. She finally made it to the vanity and grabbed her face powder and threw it in Notary's face. Notary wasn't able to dodge it in time. The white powder covered her helmet momentarily, blinding her. Taking advantage of this, Trixie grabbed some lipstick and started making it marking Notary's visor. Notary tried punching back with quick jabs, but Trixie deftly avoided them. Notary tried rubbing it off, but it didn't work. Trixie ran towards the door. Ha! So much for Greengrass's fortune, Trixie mocks. She screamed in horror as Notary threw her chakra in Trixie's direction, obviously guided by the sound of her voice. Trixie dodged it just in time by leaping to the right, and the weapon went through the wall behind her. Trixie saw Notary moving towards the blanket on Rarity's bed. She knew there wasn't much time. She ran out the door of the guest room Twilight was staying in. She flung open the door and found Twilight still sound asleep on her bed. Trixie face huffed. How did all that commotion not wake her? Twilight! Wake up! Trixie yelled. Twilight responded by mumbling and stirring in her sleep. I don't think even the princess could read this many books in her lifetime. Trixie ground her teeth. She didn't have time for this. She grabbed Twilight by her hose and forcibly threw the sleeping bear out of the bed and onto the floor. Twilight screamed and brutally said, Trixie, what's going on? What time is it? Trixie grabbed Twilight by the shoulders and started shaking her violently. In no time. We need to get out of here. Nuttery is right behind me. What? Twilight asked, confused. Trixie's eyes widened when she saw a chakra coming right towards them. She pushed Twilight out of the way in time and winced when the blade scraped the top of her hoof. It cleaved Twilight's bed in two. What the heck is that? Twilight cried out. She used her magic to grab her glasses off the desk and put them on. Just shut up and teleport us away from here, Trixie said patiently, trying to ignore the blood seeping from her hoof. They hadn't had time for her to explain what was going on. Twilight stared at her for a moment before nodding. Unfortunately, this gave Nunnery time to jump into the room, Chakraman huff. Nunnery threw her Chakraman at Twilight and teleported away in time and fright. Really? Trixie could not believe this. What about me? Trixie was cornered now. Nunnery was walking to the door and summoned back her Chakraman again. Nunnery ready for another attack when a pot was thrown in the back of Nunnery's head. Take that, you ruffian! Rarity cried out. No, get out of here! It isn't safe! Trixie said in alarm. Nunnery ignored the fashionista and readied her body for another swing. Trixie braced herself for the throw, but a frying pan interrupted the attack, and Chakra flew out of the control to the wall. Nunnery turned and stared directly at the offending frying pan. And there's more where that came from! Rarity cried out. Nunnery was pelted with various kitchen utensils, and a light blue aura was bounced off of her harmlessly. Nunnery returned her chakra to her hose and paused. She seemed to be thinking about her next target. She suddenly charged in Trixie's direction. Trixie readied herself and was startled by the sound of somebody telling behind her. Sorry, I panicked it! Twilight was about to say, and yelled and barely blocked the attack with a magic shield when Nunnery changed her attack towards Twilight. Nunnery pounded the shield with her weapon. Twilight winced with the effort of containing her spell. She fell to the ground in obvious pain when her shield broke into purple shards of magic. She was defenseless when Nunnery aimed towards her horn and cut it off. Trixie watched helplessly, far too late for her help. Nunnery froze the light blue aura. Rarity gritting her teeth in an effort containing the yellow ranger. Not so fast! Rarity said. Trixie used this opportunity to grab Twilight away from Nunnery. Teleport us now! Trixie demanded. Twilight thankfully complied and teleported them into the outskirts of town where near Sweet Apple Acres. Trixie sighed of relief that came to a sudden hard relaxation. Rarity! On it! Twilight disappeared again. Trixie's spine raced. She hoped beyond hope that Rarity was okay. She started pacing nervously. In a time that seemed like an eternity, Twilight appeared with an unconscious Rarity on her back. She had blood on the right side of her head. Rarity! Trixie cried out in horror. She's fine. She's just unconscious, Twilight said, much to Trixie's relief. What happened? Nunnery belted her on the side of the head, Twilight explained. Trixie growled. You are going to pay for this, Nunnery. I'll get her to a hospital, Twilight said, and Trixie nodded in agreement. What about you? Twilight pointed towards Trixie's leg. It's just a scratch, Trixie said with impatience. Get going! Twilight danced again. Trixie collapsed on the ground, exhausted. All the adrenaline she was using during the fight was gone. Felt like she just ran 30 laps around town. She was thankful they made it out there in one piece. Twilight appeared again in a flash. A doctor's seeing her right now. Thank goodness. Trixie hated Rarity like that, but they needed to get going. What now? Twilight asked. We continue with the plan, Trixie said resolutely. Ditsy sipped her tea in silence as he watched Cheerilee chat with Greengrass about some crazy adventure of her youth. She talked about how she used to be a bounty hunter. Ditsy wasn't sure she quite believed the story. The teacher seemed more at home with textbooks and grading papers than hunting down ponies. No offense to her friend, but Ditsy thought Cheerilee was too boring to once have a nice life like that. Sure, she heard stories, but she really didn't buy them. Of course, Cheerilee was a ranger now, so maybe her life wasn't so dull right at the moment. Carrot listened intently with a smile on her face. Dissy thought Carrot really needed all this. Just looking at Carrot, Dissy could tell the mare was in bad shape. It looked like she hadn't been sleeping right or feeding herself properly. The stress and anxiety of Trixie's arrest and everything else that had happened to her over the past few weeks made her 15 years older. Hermione looked even worse than it did before, and her tail looked like a frazzled mess, and nothing Dizzy tried could tame it. Dizzy was glad this quiet Sunday morning tea with her friends and Greengrass at Cheerilee's house. It was a nice distraction for Carrot. Cheerilee's living room was homely enough. It had a worn, usable sofa with a coffee table in front of it. The walls were covered in bookshelves containing textbooks, novels, and many books on teaching techniques. She also had several fish tanks with colorful tropical fish on countertops. The air had a slightly overpowering but pleasant smell of pine to it. Dizzy gingerly drank her tea. It was peppermint mint, and it had a pleasant aroma. Trixie frowned at the sight of Greengrass. Cheerilee had attached herself to the Duke over the last couple of days. She stared into his eyes longingly and hung on to his every word. Dizzy didn't like Greengrass one bit. Dizzy tried to fail to dissuade Cheerilee away from the Duke. The situation reminded her too much of Dinky's father. Dizzy sighed and gave up trying to persuade her friend. If Cheerilee was interested in him, despite how obviously disastrous it was their choice. Cheerilee was an adult after all. Though, if this was Dinky instead, Dizzy would have chased him away with a broom, possibly a baseball bat. Dizzy took another sip of her tea when the front door was finally slammed, startling her. "Open up! It's the police!" someone yelled behind the door. Everybody in the room looked at each other. Dizzy felt a pit of dread in her stomach. Cheerilee walked up to the front door and gingerly opened it. Behind it were 6 police officers in nightlight. Dizzy narrowed her eyes at the sight of the Viceroy. He had a self-satisfied look on his face. "May I help you?" Cheerilee asked in a tight voice. "We are here to arrest Carrot Top on suspicion of theft," Nightlight said, stepping ahead of the officer standing in front of him. The officer gave the voice for a dirty look. Carrot Top's eyes widened hard as he dropped her teacup to the floor, breaking it. "That's nonsense!" Cheerilee said with a firm voice. "She would never do such a thing!" "Yeah!" Dizzy yelled. She stood up and glared. "Really?" Greengrass said, arching an eyebrow. "You do have proof, correct?" One of the officers was going to say something, but Nightlight interrupted him with a smirk. "I have a witness that said they saw the accused steal something from Duke Greengrass's pocket." "Really?" Cheerilee sounded less convinced. "Yes. We searched Miss Heartstring's house, where Miss Top is currently residing, and found it among her things," Nightlight said. "No, you're wrong," Greengrass said and gave a pleasant smile. "I gave Miss Top that watch." "What?" Nightlight said, baffled. "Indeed. I told her to take it from my pocket." Greengrass gave Carrot Top a wink. Carrot Top looked a little baffled at first, but soon gave him an appreciative nod. Cheerilee beamed. Dizzy was just confused. Nightlight stared down and lost for words for a moment, but regained composure. Glared angrily at Greengrass. We found other things too. Truly, that was reported missing. A personal item stolen from the princess herself. It seems Miss Top stuck into her Majesty's personal chariot and took whatever she could find, Nightlight continued. "What?" Greengrass said, confused. Carrot Top dropped to the floor, stunned. "Stealing from the crown is a serious offense. Tantamount to treason." Nightlight's look had not had an ounce of sympathy or warmth. "If found guilty, it won't surprise me if you were exiled from Equestria, maybe even hung." Carrot Top started hyperventilating. Dizzy Cheerilee stood in front of Carrot Top protectively. "What are you going to do? Fight me?" Nightlight mocked. "Do you want to be arrested as well?" Dizzy growled in frustration. "Trying to get consent for the pathetic little farm of yours, I bet," Nightlight grinned. "Honestly, this isn't surprising. Friends of scum are scum." "I repeat, Nightlight, you are the second worst Nightlight I have ever met." "You are still not topping, I sacrificed my only daughter in order to summon a evil entity." Now, if I ever find a fanfic where you do worse things to Twilight, then he'll take the top spot. But seriously, Nightlight, the only way you're ever going to top about the empty room is if you slap Twilight. Carrot Top started mumbling to herself the word no over and over again. Hose on her face. It was heartbreaking to see her like this. "It won't surprise me if you all don't end up behind bars eventually," Nightlight said in a way that sounded like a promise. Did you know that your friend Lulamoo escaped jail last night? Knight asked. It's still under investigation who helped her. Maybe it was one of you.
Trixie's free? Dizzy thought. Of course. He's telling me this, so I might try to help her get myself arrested for any a criminal.
She started grinding her teeth. They had to beat the creep somehow. That was a promise. She's a murderer. So the police have been ordered to apprehend her with extreme prejudice. Who knows what might happen to her in the process? She's a very dangerous criminal. The threat was very obvious in his voice. Dizzy's host started shaking uncontrollably horrified. They wouldn't, would they? Dizzy froze when she heard an animalistic growl of anger and fury. She started when Carrot suddenly stood up and tried past her with single-minded determination. Her face contorted with anger as she hatred. Dizzy heard a crunchy sound as Carrot's hoof connected with Nightlight's face. Yael! The punch made Nightlight fly out the door into the street. Everyone gaped in shock. A wolfish grin appeared on Carrot's face, and she took advantage of the shock and made a run for it. In the blur, she leapt past Nightlight's crumpled form and ran to the street. The police recovered from their shock and chased after her. Hey, Nightlight, I should remind you, unicorns are also known for having very, very weak skin.
Get her, you fools!
Nightlight demanded, covering his bleeding nose with a hoof. He pulled out his morpher. Dizzy narrowed her eyes and kicked it out from under his toes before he could even attempt to transform. Nightlight turned to glare at Dizzy.
I couldn't let you transform, sir. Dizzy lied with an innocent look. You need medical attention.
Get away from me! Nightlight pushed Dizzy away. He grabbed his morpher and it was magic and took off after escaping Carrot Top. Dizzy rubbed her face. It was time to begin to plan. In front of her, she could see the train station. She tilted the sun over her eyes. It was go time. There was only 5 minutes left until the train left for Camelot. She steeled her nerves. So much could go wrong so easily. She had to do this. Twilight trailed behind her, drenched in scarf and trench coat. She gave Trixie a subtle nod. Trixie looked at the clock. It was at 8:57. She and Twilight moved with purpose to the ticket sealer, avoiding the gaze of a police officer.
2 for Canterlot, please,
Trixie said, not disguising her voice. The ticket master looked at her with surprise. 16 bits! You better hurry. The train will be leaving any time now. Trixie nodded and took her ticket. She rushed towards the train. Twilight had some trouble keeping up, but they were able to make it in time. Tickets, please! A Pegasus stallion, a black suit and black hat, silver gold trim said. Hurry, hurry! Trixie and Twilight gave their ticket and they entered the train. They found an open seat and sat down. The train started taking off. Trixie looked around outside and found what she was looking for. She saw a young police officer watching the area. The officer started when he spied Trixie. She in turn quickly turned away and covered her face with her hat acting like she didn't want to be noticed. Trixie smirked when she saw the officer take off towards Ponyville. Perfect! She sat back and relaxed. Did it work? Twilight asked. Trixie nodded. She knew the station would be watched, even if the officer didn't know her. Trixie knew that her discretion would be enough to tip the police or Night Court off. Trixie stretched and enjoyed the train ride. She watched the horizon for her destination. She thought that it was already coming up quick. She scanned the train and found what she was looking for. Tagging with her friends was a blue earth pony with a white mane. Just the type of pony Trixie could use. Trixie tried out to the mirror.
Excuse me,
she said apologetically.
This might be a strange request, but would you be interested in this hat?
Trixie took off her hat and presented it to the mayor, who eyed it curiously.
You see, I bought it in Ponyville, but, well, I don't think it really works well with me, Trixie said. It doesn't click, if you know what I mean.
The mayor nodded in understanding.
I see what you mean. It really doesn't match your eyes. So, I saw you, and I thought it might be perfect for you, Trixie stated.
She prayed that the mayor would take the bait.
I would love to,
the mayor said, smiling. She took it from Trixie's toes, put it on, and grinned lightly.
It's perfect! My, that mare certainly loves stretching out her consonants in rolling her eyes. It's weird.
The mayor eyed the bandage on Trixie's head with concern.
Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I just hit my head. Trixie laughed. That is the reason I brought the hat. The bandage is unseemly. Poor thing, the mayor said in sympathy.
Trixie chatted with the mayor a little, and eventually detached herself away. She looked out the window and saw that they outshoot their destination. But that was no big deal. Trixie gave Twilight a single with her head, and went to the storage caboose when nobody was looking.
Remember, I haven't teleported while moving before,
Twilight said nervously, as Trixie closed the door behind him. Trixie knew teleporting and moving at high speeds was a risky adventure, and made the process more dangerous and complicated, but it was doable.
You'll be fine,
Trixie reassured.
Ready?
As much as Trixie really wanted to go to Camelot, she knew she couldn't yet. She wanted to see the crime scene for herself. She knew the train traveled near the spot where Pokey's body was found, wanted to use the train as a way to get to it quickly. She didn't want to just read about it or hear about it. She wanted to see if she could find something everybody else had missed. Trixie also wanted to fight the North Court's attention. She knew the Night Court Rangers would at least have a few of their members behind to watch their friends in case they tried anything. The rest would go to Camelot to find her. Besides, the last thing they would expect for her is to go back to Ponyville again. There's something else as well. Finding where Pokey was really killed was important. I needed to clear the name of the ability charges first. Destroying her supposed motivation for killing Pokey would go a long way to clear her name. She had a feeling somebody was really stealing something from Ponyville's Relief Fund, and the blame just shifted to her. Nightlight! 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 Anybody else say Nightlight? It would be so much easier and believable they framed her that way. Trixie already had a strong suspicion who the real culprit was. Yeah, and I think he's got a giant neon sign that says, "Hey, I did it!"